Hey guys, Ratchet Reviews here again with another Transformers video review. This time I am taking a look at the leader of the build team. This is Wedge. Now, Wedge is a bulldozer, a very small bulldozer at that, but pretty well detailed. Kind of does have a little bit of a cartoony look to him, just with his proportions, but he is pretty well detailed and just overall really does look nice in his bulldozer mode. Real quick, I do want to show off scale with one of the other Deluxe figures in the same line. This is Prowl with him, and as you can see, both of them being packaged in vehicle mode. Wedge is really small for his size, or for a Deluxe, but we'll get into why he was packaged as a Deluxe here in a minute. And then just for the sake of displaying him next to a newer figure, something more recent, you can see that he's even smaller than what's apparently a small Deluxe figure. So anyways, not really much else to talk about in this mode. He does roll. He has little wheels on the bottom of his treads that allow him to roll forward. Just some nice gray paint. Big Autobot symbol. I would like to be able to have a decal of the more simplified Autobot symbol that Wedge actually had in the cartoon, but I can't find a good substitute. Toy Hacks doesn't have it, so anyways, for transformation start, you just go ahead and separate the shovel and fold these parts all the way back, and then go ahead and remove this part, and we'll save that for later. And then next we're going to take the arms and get them out of the way, or the treads and get them out of the way, and then take the front section of the bulldozer and fold it down, and then rotate it and get the feet out. And then for this part here, you'll take these hinged sections, and then fold them all the way around, and then fold this hinge so it is sticking straight out of the body, and then do the same on the other side. And then take this top section of the treads here, pull that apart, and then that will allow us to rotate the bottom section and reveal the fist. And do the same on both sides. Then come around the back and open up this panel, and then fold his head down. Now, two things I want to point out. First is, yes, you can see Landfill's head inside. They actually did that in the anime as well. They kept that in the anime, that detail. So yeah, you can see Landfill's head in there. But also, one thing I've noticed is that, yeah, his head doesn't go down perfectly. So to kind of help lock it into place, you do need to open up this panel a little bit, and then fold his head down, and then collapse the panel back on. And there is Wedge in his robot mode. Now let's get a look at that close up at the head sculpt here. As you see, pretty nice head sculpt. I do like how all of the build team have a little bit of some semblance to their alternate mode in their head sculpt. You can see the buckets on either side of Wedge's head, as well as a little bit of a wheel and a cab section back there. So his head does kind of look like it is a cross section of a bulldozer. So I do like that attention to detail. And there's really not much else in terms of detail that we're seeing here that wasn't visible before in robot mode or in vehicle mode. Just now, I know this might end up fixing itself when I go to upload this on YouTube, but this orange plastic and the yellow plastic is throwing off my white balance so bad on the viewfinder of my camera. It's bad. Like, all the colors are blending. It's actually making some of the molded details not show up on my camera, but I know stuff like this ends up fixing itself, so that is one thing to note. And yeah. Anyways, as I mentioned, he is a little bit on the small side. And go ahead and bring out sideburn here for a real quick robot mode comparison of the same line at the same price. And maybe if Wedge will want to stand up. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, Sideburn does stand quite a bit taller than Wedge. With Wedge's shovels, he is taller, but head height, he comes up to about halfway up Sideburn's chest. And now for the more modern size comparison here, go ahead and bring in Siege Prowl, and yeah, once again, you can tell that Wedge is definitely on the short side. And for articulation wise, this is where this figure excels, is his articulation. Because usually, like, we know that sometimes a combiner component ends up being a little bit stunted on the articulation, or there's some extra kibble in the mode just due to combination, but he has none of that. Full perfect range of articulation for a figure this size. His head is on a swivel, 360-degree rotation. Shoulders are on ball joints, which even after 20 plus years are still really tight on my figure. As well as, thanks to the transformation, we do get an extra joint in there. And if you can utilize it, you can get a butterfly joint going. So that's a really nice touch as well, is to be able to utilize the transformation joint as a butterfly joint. And then, as you see, ball jointed elbows allow for a 90-degree bend and full 360-degree rotation. Due to the combiner section and the way it's transformed, though, this does limit his waist articulation. He basically has no waist standard, but if you do flip this component out, you can also flip it all the way down, and that will free up his waist, and now he has a full 360-degree swivelable waist. And hips are on ball joints with kick all the way up as far as that, and then all the way back that far, and almost, oh, there it goes. Once you get past that little soft divot right there from the ball joint section on the outside of his leg, you can get him to kick out that far. And then there's actually a, very tight swivel above the knee, as well as due to the transformation we do get almost a 180 degree bend out of that knee joint. So, small? Yes. But for a figure that is 20 plus years old now, that is some next level articulation that I don't even think any of the G2 laser rods accomplished at the time. He's more articulated than any of the Beast Wars, than some of the Beast Wars figures I've handled, and just around this time, there was nothing really more articulated than him, except for maybe arguably Sideburn, but Sideburn has a lot of kibble that gets in the way. When it comes to kibbles, Wedge is actually pretty clean, except for the obvious shovel scoops. One big contention that I do have with Wedge, or at least my figure, which he's behaving now, but due to the way his legs are, there's a lot of empty space in there. And even though he is kind of front heavy, there's not really much back behind his foot to help him balance. And especially on mine, you can tell that this knee has weakened. This knee joint has definitely weakened over time. And I've tried the floor polish method, and I can't keep it tightened. So even though he is behaving for the most part on this review, there is a problem with trying to get him to stand. And I think that is the one glaring negative about this figure, is that he has a hard time standing sometimes. And also, I forgot to mention the accessory, this little blade that was behind the shovels. It can peg into his back for storage, or it's supposed to. However, the connection is a little weak, or at least it seems so on mine. Either that, or I'm trying to put it on upside down. No, it's just a little weak, and yeah, these pegs here for the other combined mode are getting in the way. So it is supposed to clip in there for storage, but for some reason mine does not want to. That's the best I can get. But when you have them folded, these two sections folded forward like this, you can actually go ahead and plug that into his hand and be used as a weapon, as a gun. So, come on. Yeah, he's definitely not going to stand when I try to get him in action pose until I say something. So there. And there we have it. Now, I hate to say this right off the bat, but Wedge being the first of the build team that I'm looking at, he's basically not only the best in the build team, but arguably for a standalone figure, one of the best new molds out of the entire Robots in Disguise toy line. Not to harken on Optimus or Megatron, those are really good figures on their own as well. It's just, due to what Wedge does as a standalone figure, and the fact that he does combine is amazing. He does a lot more than what some modern figures have a hard time doing. And he has to shoe in a third mode for a transformation, or for a combination, which we'll look into after we get individual looks at all the rest of the build team first. But I do want to point out that as a standalone figure, Wedge is a very strong figure. One of the very rare instances where I can recommend a component of a combiner without having to recommend the rest of the team. He is good enough on his own, but his teammates make him even better. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Wedge. A really great figure. If you can find him for a pretty good price, I do recommend picking him up. He does make the rest of the build team even better, but if you can only get him, I would definitely pick him up at least. So this has been Ratchet Reviews. I hope you guys like this video review, and I will see you next time. Bye.